Back here in our high school football preview, and we are joined now by the defending 4A state champion head coach and the winner of our Coach of the Year and our honorary ESPYs. It's head coach Derek Tuttle out at Andover Central. Season of dreams last year for the Jaguars, defeating Bishop Carroll in the state champion, or sorry, defeating Bishop Miege in the state championship game. Coach, kind of talk about just the emotions of last year and how long you've kind of let that linger before getting into this season.
Yeah, thanks, Chance. Thanks for having me and the interview. The kids were so excited last fall to finally get over the hump, obviously, and a lot of excitement in our town, in our community, in our school. The kids and the coaches, I felt like we really enjoyed it during the winter in the off season. That's a little more of a downtime for a lot of the football guys, except for the ones that are wrestling or playing basketball. And then, it's a strange thing, high school sports, especially high school football. As soon as you get to the next semester, you're already, putting the pieces together for the next season. So the kids and coaches have been kind of looking at 2025 and what we need to do to put things together for this season.
And you guys had an incredible season last year, and it was really on the heels of an incredible senior class. I mean, a bunch of guys that are multi-sport athletes. We had Maddox on multiple times last year for football and for baseball. For that senior class to be the one to break it, to be the one to win the state championship. How cool is that for you as a coach, having them from when they're little tykes up until they're seniors and seeing them accomplish what was a dream of theirs for sure?
Yeah, it was really cool for a lot of people in our community. One of our equipment coach the last few years does a lot of work for our team, Mitch Gee. He's now one of our assistant coaches for us this coming season. He was able to coach them in youth football, as they came up. And then our middle school coaches really enjoyed that class as they went through their system, through Coach Charbonneau's system, and then they got it up in the high school years. And yeah, the coaches in the community and the parents of that group were really, really excited as they got older, and especially even their junior year when they got to be state runner up. They knew going into 2024 there was going to be a lot of excitement. So it was a special group for sure. So many great kids in that group. We signed 10 to go on to play college football this fall, which is kind of a record for our school. Pretty amazing. And so it was a fun class for sure.
And at what point, I mean, it can be, when they're freshmen, when they're sophomores, but at what point did you know that that group was going to be special, that could be the group to win a state championship for Andover Central?
It's kind of hard to say about because there's so many different factors, going into a season about what other schools have talent-wise at that same grade level or even lower grades that will compete with those kids. But, when those kids were freshmen, you could kind of tell that they had some really special qualities, not just their talent on the field, but how they approached practice, how they approached everyday competitiveness in their lives and in sports.
And then, in the state championship game, Maddox goes for a record over 300 yards rushing in the state championship game. What was kind of the game plan going in? Was that the game plan, give Maddox the ball 100 times and just let him go to work? Or, at what point in the game were you like, this guy is as hot as we've ever had anybody?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've been very balanced offensively, and we that approach helped us get through the playoffs. And some teams we were able to pass the ball better against in the playoffs, and some teams were able to run the ball a little bit better. And without really seeing Miege in person, sometimes it's a little hard to know what to expect. I mean, you can see a lot of film on a team, obviously, as you look to get prepared. But we had some answers in the run game. We knew Maddox has been solid all year. It's very cool. He won your guys' SB award. That was pretty special. And the big guys up front, the offensive linemen blocking for him, especially the three seniors in our group, Dawson Rod and Grant Fuchsa and Logan Lira, who are now off on college campuses getting ready for college football season. But those guys really led the way, blocking for Maddox, and it was a special how it turned out.
Talking to Coach Tuttle here, Andover Central head coach. We were at the game, the one loss you guys had last year against Goddard, and it was a game that, Goddard had two or three plays that just went their way and went their way in crazy ways. A couple turnovers and a kick return touchdown, and all of a sudden you're in a 20 to nothing hole, and you kind of struggle to dig yourself out of it. How much emotional growth did you see from that senior class after that game to get them to a point where they could be state champions?
Yeah, that was a good test of resilience because there were some. opportunities we had in that game to turn the tide a little bit, and we didn't quite uh, make success on some certain plays and things like that. And I take the blame on it. There's a lot of things I could have done a lot better as a head coach, and so I learned a lot about myself and about our group with that game. And that helped us going forward, quite honestly. And you never want to lose, but that particular game helped us see the things that we need to do to kind of turn the corner a little bit. And like I said, it was good test in our resilience for sure.
And you had that big senior class last year. What was kind of your favorite part about that class? Because they had quite a lot of spunk, a lot of personality. I know I talked to like 8 of them last year, and each time it was so much personality in each one of those guys. What was the most fun part about coaching all of them?
I would say two things. One, just everyday practice, just being around those guys was a lot of fun because they knew how to practice and practice well, and that makes coaching so easy when you got guys like that their consistency and attendance. We got some guys in that group they never missed a practice their whole career of high school, which is really awesome. And then the second thing is, just how they performed, and they were so just determined in the playoffs. We had some very good teams we faced to get to the championship game that we faced down the stretch. Between Bueller and Wellington and a lot of the schools that we had to overcome there. And so we had some tough battles, and those guys, even when they were challenged in the playoffs, those guys would step up to the challenge, and they would do some performances that would just kind of awe you a little bit. And so that was special.
And for the excitement level on this year's team, I mean, it has to be pretty high. Going from the Hunters finishing as the runner-up to now the Hunted being the state champions, and it's kind of a new look group. I mean, I don't know how many starters you guys lost, but it feels like a lot. I mean, it feels like 20 plus starters are gone from last year's team, and then the leadership you also have to replace. Kind of talk about your excitement level with the 2025 Andover Central team.
Yeah, that's a good question. You're pretty close on the starters. We're looking at about 8 guys being new starters on offense, around 9 or so new starters on defense, as far as consistent starters, 8 or 9. And so, yeah, there's a lot of holes to fill, but that creates excitement in the younger guys. We got a lot of up and coming kids in our program. I love the freshman class that's coming to our school. The junior class from last year that got to experience the state championship. Several of those starters are back, especially we've seen some really good leadership from some of our linemen like Jaylen Wilson, Paxton McLeod, Aiden Jordan. We have some big guys up front coming back that we're excited about. And so, and the other exciting part too is the question marks. I know that sounds weird, but as coaches, we're always intrigued about who's going to step up and fill the roles, and that's not easy to do, but it makes our job fun, makes it interesting, makes it very stressful sometimes, but that's that's why we do what we do, and we're excited to get to 25 season rolling.
And before we get off of last year, kind of talk about where some of those guys that we're familiar with, you and I, but some other Andover Central fans might not be as familiar with, where are they going to be playing next year, the guys that are moving on to the next level.
Yeah, you're testing my memory pretty good here with 10 different guys. We have so Dawson Rod was a really good offensive defensive lineman for us. He's on a full ride scholarship at Colgate University.
Hmm.
So he's going to be playing D line for them. We had about 4 or 5 kids that are going to JUCO. So our quarterback, Jace Jefferson's going to Hutchinson, and I believe, just went up there to start fall camp. We have 4 kids here locally going to Butler. Gage Hurley, D lineman for us, Brant Stupka, wide receiver for us, and then our 2 offensive tackles, Logan Lira and Grant Fuchsa. We have a couple of kids going to Bethany College.
Mhm.
Carson Green as a defensive kid, probably D lineman, maybe linebacker. And then our kicker from last year, Andrew Klaus, is going up to kick for Bethany College and play soccer just like he did for us. He's going to be a dual sport athlete up there, which is really cool. And then I believe the last kid, hopefully I'm not leaving anybody out, was Logan Taggart. And he actually signed with Southwestern College, but with the stipulation that he had also applied for the Air Force Academy.
Hmm.
He didn't quite get into the Air Force Academy, but he's going to the Air Force Prep Academy. So And last I knew, I don't think he was going to play football for them, but he's on board at Air Force Prep and serving our country. So that's a pretty special deal for him and his family.
Yeah, that's incredible to hear that. But I think isn't Jace Adler, isn't he up at K-State if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, I knew I'd forget one. And yeah, because he was one that was on board with Iowa Western and had committed to them. Then K-State had a roster spot that opened up, and Adler got the opportunity to be on their 105 man
Hmm.
roster kind of late in the recruiting process, and he jumped on it. And he's really excited. And if you follow him on Instagram at all, he's been working out really hard with the younger guys and up at K State and getting involved with the older guys too as well. So it's pretty special to see him get into that D1 situation up at K State.
Yeah, that's awesome. And as a K-State fan myself, I hope that he sees the field because I enjoyed watching him a lot last year. And you brought something up that I kind of wanted to hit on, and I think it might have been something we discussed last year. A lot of the guys for your team, your state championship team, also played basketball, and then a couple guys also played baseball. Football coaches love, especially at the college level, love guys that play multiple sports. Kind of talk about how you encourage them to test their limits and kind of push themselves in other areas so they can be the best athlete that they can be.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just about every coach would tell you that they love the multi-sport kids. But I think one thing that we try to do, and I'm not saying I'm the best at this necessarily, but in the summertime it can be crazy, especially in June. And so we try to give the kids a little bit of balance to their lives. So we literally practice football twice a week in June. We go on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Um, Knowing that a lot of kids are playing baseball. A lot of these baseball tournaments anymore go from Thursday to Monday, you know. So we try to give baseball the weekends, especially the long weekends. We don't never do anything on Fridays in the summer. And then we also kind of balance out with basketball. So the basketball coach, Tyler Richardson, he works out his kids in their summer practices on Mondays and Thursdays. And so kind of coordinating with the other coaches has been really good for us at Andover Central. And I like that those other coaches work with me, and that's helped kids keep a healthy balance because if you go too far in what you're asking kids to do in the summer, they can get very easily burned out in June.
Hmm.
Because I mean, these days you're asking a three sport kid a lot. The kids, especially the ones that play football, basketball, and baseball. I told one of our other coaches last spring, I said, some of these kids like Jace Adler and Jace Jefferson, Maddox Archibald, those three especially playing. Even Landon Preston was a kid in that boat. They're playing. I guess Landon played two sports, but the others played three. But if you play three sports like that and you go to like the state championship game, like what we did, they practice every single holiday break from the start of the school year through the summer when school's out for the summer. And think about that. You never get a weekend, you never get a holiday off. You're
Hmm.
practicing, maybe not on Christmas Day, but you're practicing every single holiday, and that's pretty demanding on a kid. And so it's pretty special if those kids do that. And it helps, I think, all of the programs, not just our football team.
Talking to Andover Central coach Derek Tuttle here in our high school football preview. Let's move into the 2025 team, replacing a three-year starter at quarterback in Jace Jefferson. Kind of talk about what you've seen from the two guys competing at the spot under center this year.
Yeah, so our first kid is Max Olson. He transferred over to come to our school district um, in the spring semester of 2025, and he's been going to the E Academy. His family decided to move over here, and he's a senior kid. Didn't play a lot for El Dorado last year because he got injured about a game and a half and had a season-ending injury, unfortunately. So Max has been working really hard. Great kid, great work ethic. Has been really putting in the time to learn our stuff here this summer with limited amount of time, to kind of get ready for this season. But he's doing a good job of preparing and has been very competitive at it. And then the other kid that's come into our school this summer is Ty DeGarmo, and he's a really sharp and good-looking athletic kid who's come up in our program. Ty's been in a lot of work in the last couple of years as a very young quarterback, going to camps, studying the game, working to improve. And he's really worked hard to put himself in this position. So even as a freshman, he's competing for a varsity spot. So we're really excited about Ty and his future. And we'll just kind of see how it plays out in August when we get to August camp.
And you guys have a running back returning that did get quite a few snaps last year in Jackson Green as a sophomore. I mean, how nice is it to be able to replace Maddox with a guy that's got some playing time experience, but obviously some big shoes to fill at the running back position.
Yeah, for sure. It won't be easy to fill into Maddox's role, but I think Maddox actually inspired Jackson to a certain extent because Jackson has had a great summer. The kid's been working extremely hard. He's really dug into just learning the nuances of our offense a lot more this off season, and we're really excited about that. And he's going to be a very special player for us. Kind of a little bit different style of runner than Maddox. He has some great shiftiness and just great explosiveness that you guys will see this fall on the gridiron.
And you also have the quarterback of your offensive line returning center Paxton McLeod. I'm going to have an opportunity to talk to him next week. But how nice is it to have kind of a signal caller up front that has some experience, a lot of it as well, to be able to help out four new guys around him.
Yeah, Paxton's a very strong kid, one of the strongest kids we've had in our program. He takes a lot of pride in the weight room. He takes a lot of pride in leading our offensive line. Yeah, he started since his sophomore year. And one thing you never want to take for granted, especially in a shotgun offense like we run, a lot of other teams around here run, those shotgun snaps. He's done a fantastic job with that. And to have him back and a couple other guys up front that have really good experiences is pretty exciting.
And kind of talk about the personality of this year's team. What's kind of the MO, the attitude of this team like? Because you've had some opportunities to be around them, as they were on the JV last year and then this year in summer. Kind of talk about what this team's attitude is going to be heading into the season, what you've seen from them personality wise.
Yeah, really good. Like I said, we've had some great leadership this offseason, especially can't say enough good things about Jaylen Wilson. The kid is a fantastic leader for us just as a whole on our team, even though he's probably going to play more on the defensive side. He inspires everybody. So that's been fantastic. I also like how, a lot of our seniors, it's a lot smaller group. We have about 14 or so. We'll kind of get a final number as we get closer to the season, but of that smaller group of seniors, a lot of them, when they met with me in December last year after the season, a lot of them mentioned to me, Coach, we want to keep expectations high. And I thought that was pretty cool. Don't get me wrong, we're going to have our challenges this fall with a young, inexperienced team across the board in many ways. So we'll have our adversity for sure, but it's pretty cool to see the kids have that belief in the system and each other. And we're excited to get going and see what happens.
And what have been some of the coaching points that you've been hitting with the guys, things that you guys need to clean up and make sure is honed in when you guys get to September 5th and the bullets are real?
Yeah, and when you get guys starting for the first time or guys being even a backup player for the first time, there's so many little things to learn about our schemes offensively, defensively, but just overall, just emphasizing for them to do the right things every day and just try to get a little bit better every day. And some days it may not necessarily be about football. Some days it's just doing a good job in the weight room with what our speed drills are or whatever it might be, and just being a good teammate, encouraging each other, and that's kind of where we're putting our focus right now, just to keep our guys going in the right direction.
And from these guys that are returning this year, where have you seen the biggest improvements from, Thanksgiving practice last year to today here on July 16th? Where have you seen the biggest improvements from some of those guys?
I think some of it is in the weight room. The performance, I think, of a lot of our kids in the weight room this summer has been a little better than expected in some areas. So that's been a positive. Some of the attendance has been very good. So that's been a positive. And then I think just with some of the kids that are up and coming to be seniors and to be juniors, we like the retention they've had about our schemes and our concepts because we have several kids that didn't play a whole lot last year, but they're stepping into some really important roles defensively for us. Like, for example, some nickel safety guys and corners and linebackers, and some of those guys are really stepping into those roles and making some very good performances so far. But we got a long ways to go, but we have some positive signs showing.
And before we let you go, what would be one message to the Andover Central fans, parents, kids that want to come out and support the team? What would your message to them be?
Well, we're going to bring the same energy to Friday nights, and we're going to go out and do our very best. So we hope we get some people in the stands that are excited about Jaguar football. So we'll get ready to go.
Awesome. Coach Tuttle, thanks so much for your time. Can't wait to see you September 5th.
Okay, thanks, Chance. Appreciate it.
Here in our high school football preview, joined now by defensive tackle for Andover Central, the defending 4A champs. It's Jaylen Wilson. Jaylen, now being into your senior year, kind of talk about the emotions and how you feel coming into this season.
Everything's just been good so far, tough as nails, getting ready for the upcoming season. Last year, it was a very good season and, just ready to work and hopefully go back to state again.
Mm-hmm. And what's it kind of been different, now being a leader on this team? I'm sure you were a leader last year, but now being a guy that some of the young guys look up to, you're a senior now, trying to cap things off with a state championship win.
It's really just making sure we're doing the little things right, making sure everybody's getting all their reps, no slacking off in the weight room, making sure everybody's, held accountable, pretty much being the leader on this team, Paxton, Aiden, our new quarterback, Max, we're the new leaders on this team, and we have to set an example for what Andover Central's, about.
Yeah. And how do you feel like you've been going about your leadership? Is it more of a lead by example, bringing guys along quietly, or are you a vocal leader for this year's team?
I personally think I'm a vocal leader. If I see somebody slacking off in the weight room, I'm the first one to call them out. Everybody else, they know what I'm about. They know, kind of like how I get down whenever it's time to work. Mm-hmm. This year's team is special, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel like you guys? What gives you that feeling? I'm sure that you feel like every team is special, but what makes this year's team so special in your eyes?
It's just really our work ethic. Pretty much, I feel that we're working harder than any other team in Kansas. Pretty much, we're just, we're stoked and ready to work this season. Win some games.
Yeah. And what have you guys done this offseason to kind of make sure that you guys don't get stagnant? You guys aren't satisfied with just last year's state championship win. How have you guys stayed motivated?
Just a lot of conditioning, pretty much. Just a lot of conditioning on the field. Extra reps in the weight room, pretty much. Working on our individual skills with our trainers, pretty much. Sometimes we'll live together as a team, go to the field as a team, pretty much. Pretty much that's it.
Yeah. And you had a chance to learn under some really talented players last year. Kind of talk about the lessons that you learned from some of the seniors that are now off doing bigger and better things.
I've really just learned kind of like, how to get through tough times when, kind of like in the game, kind of like how, get through whenever times are tough, kind of like, whenever you're losing, can you stay positive, or are you just going to like, put your shoulders down and, just pout. Mm-hmm. But no, last year, I think that I learned that, we just got to get through things, no matter how hard they are, pretty much.
Yeah. And talk about some of the things that you guys have done this offseason. You talked about the conditioning and the training and everything. Where do you guys feel like you have grown the most from Thanksgiving practice, your last practice of last year, to today? Where do you feel like you've seen the most growth as a team?
I've seen the most growth as, people, showing up to work, not a lot of people, giving half effort. Everybody's giving 100% effort because they know this team is going to be a target on everybody's list. Andover Central state champs, got to beat them this week. So, we're ready for whatever team throws at us, pretty much.
And you're on the defensive side of the ball. Talk about what you've seen from a very new look offense. You think about the guys you guys lost last year, both of the Jaces, Brent Stupka, Maddox Archibald, a lot of big names you guys lost. What have you seen from the offense and the strides that some of the young guys have made this year?
Pretty much, I really haven't seen anything different. There's a lot of spots that we got to fill up, but Jackson Green, our new running back, he's going to step up and he's going to rise to the occasion. Our new quarterback, Max, he's a really good quarterback from El Dorado High School, and I think he's going to rise to the occasion also. He has a very good arm. He can scramble out of the pocket and get good passes going.
Mm-hmm. And for you this offseason, where have you been kind of pushing yourself, whether it's with your individual trainer or as a team? What have you kind of been working on to shape your game up as a senior?
I've really been working on my footwork, working on my pass rush, sticky situations, run stopping, pretty much just, whenever things get intense, just working with some of the guys, kind of like everybody around here is D1, so, really that's it.
Yeah. And for you, kind of talk about just the expectation coming into the year. What's it like playing for a program like Andover Central that has that high expectation every single year?
It's really special to play for this team, since freshman year, I've always wanted to play ball, but, playing for a good coach like Derek Tuttle, he's a very good coach, and I've learned a lot from Coach and all my other coaches pretty much. I've even learned from some of the players pretty much. Mm-hmm. So, it's real special to be on this team.
And who are some of the young guys on this year's team that you've kind of seen step up in summer practices that have kind of maybe caught you off guard or exceeding expectations so far?
Some that I've seen, I've seen, of course, Jackson Green. He got some reps last year. Also, Cooper Mason. He's a really good receiver for us this year. He caught some good balls. He's fast. He's electric speed. Sam Tomas, our new DB. This year's team, the young guys are going to have to step up, fill the roles that we lost last year, in our secondary. But I think we'll be ready this year.
Yeah. What do you feel like is the strength of this year's team, the bread and butter that you guys have that you can rely on the most?
I really think, the quarterback. The quarterback is the leader of the offense, should be the leader of the whole entire team. So, I think, Max is going to step up and lead the team, whenever we're in tough times, He's just a really good guy, and we've got to be ready to go this year.
And what are some of the coaching points that they've been giving you, the things you guys have to shore up before week one that needs to be crisp so that you guys can be successful in week one against Hutch?
Doing our job, pretty much, just doing our job, don't try to make somebody else's play, because this year's defense, we're going to be key if, we just go to the right gap, get our reads right, pretty much. Coach Hager just tells us to do our job, just play assignment football.
And Coach said that your nickname is Boogie. Everybody calls you Boogie. Yeah. Kind of talk about that nickname. How'd you get that nickname?
It started, whenever I was born. That was my nickname that my mama gave me, and it just caught on in middle school. And my 7th grade coach, Coach Peak, started calling me Boogie because my mom called me that at practice. So, it just started from there.
Can you bust a move? Are you a dancer at all, or I don't need you to do it right now? But are you a dancer? Do you know how to dance?
A little bit, but if I hear some good music, I'm gonna dance. So,
okay.
Yeah.
What kind of good music? What's the go-to dance song?
Tennessee Whiskey.
Okay, so a little bit of country. I didn't see that coming. Awesome. And then Jaylen, kind of what would be your message, the message to Andover Central fans and students and alumni about this year's team? What can they expect from this year's Andover Central Jaguars?
To win.
Awesome. Jaylen, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck this year.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now here at Andover Central High School for our high school football preview at center for the Jaguars. It is Paxton McLeod, returning starter here for Andover Central, coming off a 4A state championship. Paxton, kind of talk about what the summer has been like after, last season reaching the mountaintop.
I think just this summer we're just focused on getting the shoes filled in. We lost a whole lot of starters. We just want to fill those shoes in, see who can start, maybe play those positions. We're just trying to work everybody to 100% to see who is viable there, and if you're not going to give 100%, then they're not going to be able to put there.
And being a returning starter like yourself, and last year having a bunch of guys being lost sometimes can be a good thing because then there's not as much complacency. There's not as much stagnation. The young guys are coming up and they're hungry. As a returning starter, how do you set the expectation for these guys? Here's the standard. You guys have to reach it.
For me, I can be a vocal leader. I can be loud. I can tell you what to do. But sometimes I can just lead on my own, not to say anything. I really think it's important for, especially me as a center, I really think it's important for me to set the standards for the whole offense and even some of the defense. Just giving forth 100% is, the utmost. You have to put 100%. My favorite quote of all time is do or do not, there's no try. And I think we only have to do, we just can't do not. We have to keep on doing.
Yeah. And what did you see last season that kind of encouraged you this season? Being a guy, what can you carry over from last season to this season, or is there nothing? Are you just saying last year was last year, we got to start fresh this year?
I think the only thing that we should bring over is obviously our intensity, but I think the utmost is our brotherhood. Last year I learned that brotherhood is the best thing that you could do. Being bonded with each other, being one is the most important. I think if you're not friends or best friends with your teammates, you won't be as you could. It's just different. If you don't like your teammates, then it's just you're not gonna have good vibes and not gonna like each other.
Yeah. And being an offensive line, you talk about being a cohesive unit. You can have one good guy, but if the other 4 guys are, you can have 5 good individuals, but they don't perform well as a team, you're not going to see the results. What have you kind of been doing to be that leader on the offensive line to make sure you guys are operating as a unit?
Being the center, I think I try to be the loudest side of the bunch. I try to coach up all the young guys. I try to even coach up the starting O-line. We lost, I think, 3 offensive linemen. Yeah, we lost 3 of them. So, the new people coming in, I'm trying to coach them up to tell them, do this, do that. And we're just all learning as a big group together.
How difficult is it being, one of the only returning guys from last year's team and now this year's team being some young guys? How difficult is it for you to have to coach up some guys while you're also trying to improve yourself as well?
I think it's pretty challenging, but I can definitely do it. with like the new plays that they have to learn, it's definitely difficult for them to like learn it. I mean, middle school to high school, it's not a whole big difference, but the names are changing and then some plays are new.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think it's enjoyable to coach people up, and it's just I'm already a senior, so it's kind of fun to coach them up sometimes.
Yeah. And this offseason, what have you seen from the team? What have you seen in terms of growth? What have you guys been kind of focusing on this offseason?
With our off season, obviously we have summer weights. I mean, people are always here, giving 100%. I think it's important that we have summer weights as a team to just work out together, like be around each other, so we can like connect with each other more. We have OTAs Wednesdays when we could. We had practices. We even, when they had 7-on-7s, we had like offensive drills, like D-line drills. Like we were just always together, even after weights.
How do you, talking to some of the guys last year, they would say, we went to team dinners, we hung out after. How much do you guys do that now? How much has it been this summer, going to the pool together, going to the lake together? What have you guys been doing to kind of create that team environment, that family environment here as a unit?
To be honest, I think it's almost the same. Like, it's different people, but I think it's the same. Like, we would, like, some of the big guys like to go to a pool together. I'm not sure about the wide receivers and, like, other people on the defense or whatever, but I know the big guys like to go to the pool and cool off because, obviously, I mean, we sweat more, so we just like to cool off somehow.
And you guys bring in a new quarterback this year, Max Olson, coming over from El Dorado. As a center, you obviously probably have to have a good relationship with your quarterback. What have you seen from him, and what's he like stylistically?
I mean, I really like him so far. He seems promising for sure. I think he could definitely fit in the shoes of Jace Jefferson's. Obviously, I had a strong connection with Jace, but I feel like me and Max can definitely build a strong connection within a few weeks, especially when practice rolls around. I'll be with Max like 2 hours a day, like at least. So I feel like me and him can definitely build a connection pretty quickly.
Yeah. And what are some of his strengths on the football field? What does he do really well?
I mean, I like his strength of his arm, honestly. I mean, with our O-line, we can protect him pretty well for a long time. So if we can give him that time, I think he can throw some deep passes. He can scramble if need be, but I feel like our offensive line is definitely good enough to hold him off to where he doesn't have to do that too much.
And at running back, Jackson Green, who played a lot last year, and especially in second halves because you guys had some blowout wins, and Maddox, wanted to keep the tread on the tires. Talk about what Jackson's strengths are, how different he might be from Maddox as a runner.
With Jackson, I mean, he is super quick, super agile, which I love about that. Between Maddox and Jackson, I think Jackson could be a little shiftier and is probably quicker, but Maddox was able to maybe like run through kids a little more and be able to chuck them over. I think Jackson still has that potential for sure, but I think Jackson's more of a shifty move around type of running back.
Yeah. And we just talked to Jaylen, one of the defensive stalwarts on this year's team. How fun is it going up against him in practice every day, or how not fun is it going up against him in practice every day?
Oh, sometimes, man, sometimes I'm tired a lot, and then sometimes he just goes 100%. But in that moment, I just know that like he's trying to get the best out of me. So sometimes I got to flip that switch of like, no, he's not trying to like bully me or anything. He's just trying to get me better. And then so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go 100% too then.
Yeah. What's it like playing for Coach Tuttle and for this offensive coaching staff? What's it like? What's he like as a coach?
I mean, it's been the best 4 years working with him. Honestly, I've learned so much from Coach Tuttle. He's a great mentor for sure. I had him in my English class last year. He was always just like talking to me. He's just always telling me what to do wrong. He's never like really like yelled at me, but when he is yelling, he's just trying to get me better, which I love about that. And he just always wants me to get better.
Yeah. What do you feel like is the strength of this year's team? What do you feel like you guys are really good at that you guys can rely on heading into week one?
Honestly, I think our strength this year heading into the first week is definitely our offense. I'm a center, so I obviously think this offense can be best. But I really do think our offense will be really good this year. I mean, even though we lost a lot of people, I think the people that are filling in the shoes, we could definitely be really good.
And you guys aren't the only people that are losing a ton from either side of the ball. I mean, across the league, across the city, there's a ton of teams fostering in some new players. What do you guys feel like? Do you feel like that's a good thing for you guys, or how do you feel about the rest of the league, losing a ton of seniors as well from last year?
I think it's definitely could be a good thing. I mean, honestly, it's going to be a completely new season because, like, nobody has, like, the same, like, 22 starters anymore. So it's like anybody could be really good and anybody could be really bad. It's just how much effort you put into. And then, honestly, I'm just excited to play these new teams because, like, the past 2 years, they've almost been the same.
Yeah.
But now because, like, the 2025 class is gone, now it's a completely new ball game.
Yeah. And kind of talk about some young guys or some guys stepping into new roles that when I'm doing my preparation for, week one for you guys in Hutch, that I should maybe put an asterisk next to their name because they might be able to be a breakout player.
New players, I mean, obviously Jackson Green, I mean, really quick, really shifty for sure. Cooper Mason, I mean, Jaylen also said Cooper Mason.
Yeah.
A new guy would be Max Olson.
Yeah.
He's a new guy, even though he's a senior. He is a new person here, so definitely watch him for sure.
Yeah. And then what would be your message to Andover Central supporting, people who support the program, fans, alumni, students? What would be your message to them as to what this Andover Central team is going to be this year?
I think the message should be we are hungry to win. I mean, obviously, that's our word for this year is hungry. I mean, we're hungry to go back to the state championship for sure.
Awesome. Paxton, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck this year.
Yeah, thank you.